Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy John, or Carnage here, and today I'm bringing you guys a second part to the Supra video. In the first one, which was a few months ago, I left off at the end of cleaning it out, got all the interior pieces stripped and put into the shed, and a few weeks later I started to work on this. I bought a starter off of eBay for a 5M GE 7MG. On Rock Auto, they have no parts for an 82 Supra, hardly. But if you go for a, I guess it's a Corona or Cressida, which also has the inline 6, you can find a lot of parts. Found that out, and I actually recorded an intro for that work I did a few months ago, but I lost it all. But I didn't get too far. I installed the starter. I found some bolts that were probably the starter bolts in the hardware that I found in here in the bag that I threw together. I got some washers and some bolts, and I threw the starter on there. I struggled to find the signal wire from the ignition switch to the starter to get it to run, and I also tried to turn the key. I got dash lights to show up on the gauge, but when I turned key they turn off, and I assumed that was just from a bad connection, and I have not messed with it since. So earlier today I went and picked up some terminals. I'm going to redo the wiring for the starter and power cables, the ground and all that stuff, try to get a good connection to a top post battery, and that is where I'm starting today, is try to get a good connection, turn key, and see what happens. And we are going to get this car running in this video, and we're going to get it moving, or at least get it started. I still need to put wheels on it. If I do that, there's a lock key there. I've actually done a lot of work on the Blazer. I sold the engine. I have the body jacked up off the frame. I stripped the interior, pulled the dash, steering column, brake booster. I'm stripping that, and I need to get the body off of it soon. And that's why I haven't been rushing to do anything with this. I still haven't tried to get a title for it. I'm gonna do that tomorrow. Still making slow progress on this. This is a big project. So I've got a battery and some new terminals. The wires were too short last time I was here, so this is what I'm dealing with. I'm gonna have to cut the wire behind this because this is all stripped and rusted. So I'm just gonna cut the wire behind this terminal. This is the positive, and my ground is completely gone. Got some good terminals with the previous wiring I set up. So let's see what happens. The light's dim when I turn the key. Push the clutch in and nothing. I was down here trying to take a picture of that one cable up there that I thought was it, and I saw this down here besides the power, and this will plug in to the starter just about perfectly, but it's tangled up in my starter solenoid wire. That's probably why I never saw it. Yes! Alright, I honestly have hardly ever even checked the oil or any fluids in this, but the starter did do something, so now is the time to check that. Black oil, full, and it has compression. Oh, which is a good news. It has 2 new cam gears on it. I assume it's the original head, and don't know what other work has been done to the top end besides there being 2 gears on it. It has some, I guess, aftermarket headers. I don't know what the original exhaust looked like on these. We've got dirt in the throttle body. Want to get that out of there. Connect the intake hose. Here's a PCV, which the hose is rotted. And I at least want to connect the mass airflow. I don't know if the timing's any good on it. He put a new timing belt on it, but I don't know, you know, if you did it right. Let's turn it over some more. See what it sounds like. Sounds pretty damn good. Gonna spray some carb cleaner in this PCV hole. See what happens. I don't know if it's getting spark or not, but we'll find out with this. Don't think so. Here's the coil to the distributor.
What are you doing now?
I have been sanding grounds. You want to go try again? I want to keep wiggling this. But I mean, if that just sparked, that means I have good connection here, right?
That means the battery's charged too.
So it's been a couple days, and I left off the other day with the starter not working. And yesterday I came out here, wiggled some wires. I've been studying the wiring diagram for the ignition and starting circuit, and I posted on a forum and had a couple people help me, and I'm still going through the ropes. And what I found out so far, that this is a pink wire. It's not really tan or white. It looks tan to me, but I guess it was originally pink. And this was supposed to be a yellow fusible link, but it's been replaced with a blue jumper that's just straight wire, I think. And these are the first places you'd look. Really simple, good design on that. This is for the headlight retracting relay, this jumper, and then this is supposed to be a yellow fusible link wire, I think, maybe pink. Well, it looks like it could have been. And it's supposed to go straight to positive battery, and these are stuck open. With a little bit of time that I have this afternoon, I'm going to check the black power wire, which comes from the neutral safety switch, and see if that gets 12 volts to the starter for the signal wire. 12 volts, 12 volts. Clutch, 12 volts, 12 volts, 12 volts. Connection is tight. I'm gonna throw this terminal back on, and if it works, then I'm an idiot and it was just a dirty contact. Oh. No, nothing.
Turn it.
So I had my nephew turn over the car while I banged on the starter, and I noticed that when I ground the solenoid case to the bell housing bolt, or to the starter bolt, the solenoid would click. Turned over the engine a little bit, wiggled it, banged on the starter, and it started working. So I guess I forget what it's called, but the actual motor that protrudes and the part that sticks out, I guess, was stuck on the flywheel. Maybe it needs some shims and it was getting stuck too much, but now the car turns over. No spark. I'm gonna take the cap off and see if the rotor's spinning. It could be as simple as a fuse, but kind of want to see what it looks like under here. But we also don't know why the car was parked so many years ago. It took a lot to pop this thing off. Oh my God, there's infestation of bugs in this thing. What is that? They come Toyota bugs. So it's been a little bit. Last time I worked on this was last week, and we weren't getting spark. I tried to figure out the ignition circuit, and I looked at some diagrams, and I spent a couple hours out here testing wires and fuses and trying to locate relays and things that I need. And I got some help in a forum, but I need to locate that relay and see if power is getting to it and where the circuit is wrong, because I have no power at all to my coil or igniter. So that's what we're doing today. I got a new multimeter, and yeah. This connector right here has a thick black and red wire, a thin black and red wire, a black and white, which would be ground, and then a white and red, which might be sending power. So before I hit post on the forum, I decided to come out here and quadruple check on my fuses. At the top of the posts, on all four of my spade fuses, we got 12 volts. And some of them were 20s and 30s, even though they're supposed to be like 7.5 and 15s. So before I posted a picture of the fuse box, because there's a broken relay in here that I wanted to ask them what it was, I decided to swap them out for 5s. Just so, you know what I mean, because I don't need 20s and 30s in there. I put 5s in there, check the voltage, nice and clean. I go, let's go check under the hood. Everything works as it should. The fuses were just corroded, and I cannot believe I didn't think of it or just learn from my mistakes in the past, because the Suburban had the same exact thing. The ECM1 fuse that grounds the injectors for fuel after starting were corroded on my old one. And I tracked the whole circuit down for days, looked at the splices, manually grounded the injectors, black and pink from the bulkhead, everything. I didn't learn my lesson. Look at these fuses. They're supposed to be shiny, and they're white. Both of them. I don't remember which one was ECM, but both of the ones on the corners were white. So I didn't put those fuses in. I thought I put 20s and 30s in there. Gosh, man. So now I don't even want to show my face on the forum. I had these people helping me so much. This dude gave me a whole write-up. Must have took him 30 minutes to write all this. He broke everything down, gave me specific diagrams, everything. And it was just a fuse. But I'm gonna take it for what it is. It's time to make her spark. Are you kidding me? Starter just got stuck. Oh, baby. That's the first time this car's made noise in damn near 20 years. It's nice and early the next morning. This is not the vehicle I should be working on today, but I got up really early and I didn't want to go back to sleep. I wanted to work on this thing today. It still has a lot of work to be done, and I pulled the drain plug last night, and we have a lot of good gas in the fuel tank. I guess that gas has been sitting here. Tag says 07, last registration was 06. So I guess we'll say it was off the road in 06. 4, 3, 17 years. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this tank and just go ahead and skip all the problems and throw a new fuel pump and all that good stuff in this car. I'm gonna get these old fuel lines off. So the filler neck is inside of the fender well. Matter of fact, it's actually all metal. Just one of these screws is rusted out. So it seems like the fuel pump is actually external and is mounted up behind it. I guess this is factory. This looks like the factory mounting that I've seen online. So I'm interested to see what inside the tank looks like, because there's a fuel hose here, and I'm gonna just get this all taken apart. There was gas through this pump, so this pump does work. That's why I got out the way, because I do not want this gas getting on me. I had disconnected the fuel line for the filter up to the main line, so I didn't get any gas from the tank up when I was running it on carb cleaner. Or really, it's just stuck to it. Sending unit connector is right above the sending unit, and it's disassembled. The tank is out. Okay, there is a little bit of rubber at the base of this. So I grabbed my tackle box that I have used in the past to label and mark where these bolts go. I want to dive into this and see what's going on. My guess is there's just 2 lines down here because the pump is external. Oh gosh, this is nasty. Yeah, there's just a socket down there, and this is why I wasn't running this fucking tank, man. Look at that. That is what you call varnish. And there's 4 Phillips screws holding this on, which I'm gonna break loose with these vice grips first. I guess this is a vent. Well, that's not what you want to see, I don't think. This hose has been crimped and broken. I don't know where it'd connect to though, if it's not the vent. So I got all the parts pretty clean. The main pickup tube for the fuel tank, this was completely clogged. Like there was a whole inch of junk in there. And even inside the filter, which wasn't, I mean it was broken, but inside the filter there was a whole chunk. And I presume that the car did not run like that whenever it was parked. So maybe that's why it was parked. The main pickup tube for the fuel tank was fucked. And I was gonna pressure wash the tank, but I decided to just skip that step, and I'm going straight to the cement mixer method. I've done this before, my Celica, strapping a fuel tank to this electric cement mixer, and you fill it with pea gravel. Same thing as like a motorcycle tank, like a small engine. But this works. I went ahead and ordered 2 quarts of Red Coat, which is pretty much the best fuel tank sealer you can buy, I think. I spent $100 on that. I rented this for $64 for 24 hours, so there's 170 bucks. But it'll definitely be worth it. Whenever and if ever I sell the Celica fuel tank, I'll just sell it for a little bit more because it's been cleaned and coated. Put the ratchet straps through the ring below the gear. I don't know if this one is going to be long enough. It's not. I've got this piece of plywood to put under it so that when you strap the tank to it, it doesn't bow in the bottom of the tank. I got the excess strap tied up. It's pretty centered, not really, but it's on there real damn tight. The wood is not bowed. Straps are not hurting anything. They're not gonna hit anything. They're nice and tight. Let's give it a whirl and see what it does. Now I'm gonna fill it with gravel, but before I do that, I'm gonna get a before video. The way it's set up, it loses more water than rocks, but time will do it. That's what we want to see, man. I've got about 30 more minutes with this thing. I'm gonna switch up the angle. Covered up the holes, ran this for a few hours last night with no water really. And when I came out here this morning, I noticed that there was kind of like clumps built up on the side towards the pinch. And there was even rocks stuck in it. So I had to bang that out this morning with a stick and hit the side of the tank a little bit. So it's been about 2 weeks. And after I finished tumbling the tank, I rinsed it out, let it dry for a few days, came out here and checked it. There was still some rocks and dust in it, and also along all the pinches and up here in the narrow part of the tank past the baffles, you could see through the holes that there's a little bit of that caked up mud similar to stuff with the rocks in it. There was some of that all around it. There was some in the baffles and some other junk. I spent an hour or so pressure washing the tank, putting the 0 degree beam towards the back, cleaning that out. I can even actually stick my hand inside this tank. And so I went in there and I sanded, got all the mud out of there. Everything is nice and clean, relatively. There's still some rust in there, but there's no dust. I used a leaf blower and a vacuum to get the rest of the dust, sand, rocks out of it. So it's nice and dry. It's been drying for probably like 3 to 5 days now. And it's a nice warm afternoon. I've got my 2 quarts of red coat fuel tank liner here. And this is my second time doing this. I'm just gonna fill it up with all of it as quickly as I can and get this coated as quickly as I can. I'm gonna pour it all in there. They say this coats, I can't remember how big of a tank, but I think this is a 14. It'll coat a lot of it. I don't think it's gonna coat all of it. This stuff dries pretty quick. That's why I'm gonna try to do this pretty fast. Just pick up the tank, slosh it around. Even the stuff on the top that was just exposed to air is already starting to thicken up. So far, so good. It looks like it's completely covered the bottom already. Very viscous. I'm glad I did this in the warm weather, so it's more pliable and all that. So far, very good. Getting the walls, poured out some of it so I can try to fill up this center baffle somehow, because it's hard to get in there. Still got a lot of excess in here though. There's a lot more than I expected, which is not a bad thing. Probably gonna die, but I'm literally picking up the excess on the bottom and coating the inside of the tank with it, like I'm finger painting. I'm gonna leave the excess in there, but I'll just try to slosh it around and have it drip somewhere, because the thinner the better it dries and all that good stuff. And I don't really feel like painting the tank, so I'm actually gonna grab some of the drips and put it on the bottom of the tank where the liner or the coating is exposed, and this will act as paint. I'd say the tank is a lot more coated than I had expected to get, which I'm definitely satisfied with. There's a tiny part of the baffle here. There's probably a couple little spots in the center that aren't covered on the baffle. And there's also like a support for the main pickup line, like a baffle there, but that's pretty benign compared to the actual tank. So I think it's came out great. I'm just rotating it back and forth just to make sure there's no big old clumps down there. This is what it's starting to look like after 20-30 minutes. It's turning into this goo here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just pull it out. It's not really running anymore. That's all she wrote. Gonna let this thing dry for at least 3 days. Might be able to get this tank in this week, but no rush. Definitely let this stuff do its thing. My goal for these next few hours is to get these wheels off. I need to go get some tires on it, or I want to go get some tires on it before I hook the fuel system back up. And it has a, I don't know what to call this, a lock screw, like a set screw in the rims for, I guess so you can't steal them. That one's missing the spinner center thing. Does this come off? So these are on here as a plate. This set screw holds on this whole hub assembly thing here. And I don't know what I'm gonna use to get them off. There we go. Just a screwdriver in there can turn them out. Golly, they got lock lug nuts on them too, dude. That is not what we want to see. Let's see if I can hammer a socket onto it, which a 22 fits about perfectly on the outside of it. And it is slipping. Oh, came off. I don't know how I'm gonna get it out of the socket now. It's not really what I wanted. I cut it up a little bit, but we got the lug nut out. So I took this lug nut to a few different places yesterday, a couple tire places and auto parts stores. And I'm pretty much shit out of luck with this because they're made a longer ago. I don't know, early 2000s. I don't know how old these are, but I don't have a key. And the chances of me finding a key for this one in particular is gonna be really difficult because you can see there's two flat sides to it. And I don't know, it's too much work. So I'm gonna have to put in too much work to try to get them off. I'm thinking if I cut a slot right down the center, I might be able to get a pry bar or something like that to try to break them loose like a screwdriver. I don't know, that's gonna be my first attempt. I'm tightening vice grips with vice grips. I have it cut, slotted, but I don't think these Harbor Freight vice grips are gonna do it. Oh, I don't know if it broke or if the vice grips are slipping. I think the stupid vice grips are slipping. I've almost cracked the lug nut down to the base. If I need to do this for every single one of these, I swear, dude. This is currently what I'm working with. The lug nut is gone. It's gone. I think I'm gonna jack it up, take off the other two, and see if this one will come off. The lug nut is cracking in another place. Let's keep hammering at it. So I don't know what these lug nuts are made of, but I'm gonna attempt to weld a vanadium socket to them. And if this doesn't work, I'm back and forth between buying extractor sockets for $40, or I can use an angle grinder and a Dremel. And it'll take a long time, it'll take a lot more time, but it'll save me money. And just trying to angle down some edges on these so I can fit a 21mm socket on them. Wow, it fucking worked, dude. Let's go. So today we're gonna get tires and wheels on the Supra. I broke off two of these studs. I'm getting the wheels off last week, so I need to tear into this. Also need to put a stud on the back, so I gotta get that drum off, and I don't know what I gotta do for that one, but this one should be easier than the back. I don't know, but I have 3 studs to replace these off of some Corolla hubs, and we're gonna get this done. So the hub fits into the rotor, something like this. and then it's bolted in. And then it fits on there. There's a wheel bearing inside the hub here with the axle nut. And I gotta make sure I keep this not too dirty. But these studs don't really fit inside here. They have some play, but I don't care. The threads are the same and it'll still do the job. And they won't back out because it'll hit the rotor. Put some more grease in the wheel bearings and the race or spindle or whatever inside the hub. That's pretty much all she wrote. I'm gonna put everything back together, and I'm gonna leave the back wheel as it is. I don't know, maybe I'll think about it. So I've got two wheels on the front, tightened up, covers back on. These wheels actually are pretty cool. I'm not doing anything to them right now, but I think someday I may either sell them or just keep them and restore them myself. They're a universal 4-lug, so I could put these on my Corolla or whatever other 4-lug car I have. And the center caps are really cool. It says True Spoke on them with the little eagle. A better look at it as a gold eagle and a snake, and it says True Spoke and a snake. That is really cool. These wheels are worth some money. So I'm buttoning up this tank, and the last thing I need to install on it is a fuel pump strainer. I got a set of 5 of these for like 10 or 15 bucks on eBay, and I didn't expect this to fit. This little sock or strainer, I didn't expect it to fit on this, so I'm gonna have to either break it or drill it out. I broke off one of the bolts and I lost another one when I was taking it off, so there's 5 out of 7 holding this on, but that's okay. Next, I'm gonna install this fuel pump. I went with a 330 liter or 300 liter fuel pump, a little bit higher pressure, just because really. It was only like $10 more. Now that I'm under here taking a look, this whole half of the wheel well is gone. About 50% of it is eaten out. I need a couple small hose clamps and some zip ties to properly secure this in here. But I got everything ready to be installed. There's this fitting that goes on the outlet or the inlet, and this hose wasn't gonna fit on there. So I cross-threaded a reverse flare nut into this, then got the hose back on there, really secure. And for the outlet of the pump, I have this 1/4-inch fuel hose that I'm gonna use to secure it up here to the hardline. I filled it up with 5 more gallons of gas. Now the fuel gauge reads almost full. It is pouring gas out of the filler neck where it meets the tank. So it's dumping gas, but I just got it to run for a second, so let's try again. It doesn't want to idle, but it does take gas. I wonder if the timing's off or something. Got a parking brake. The clutch pedal has 0 pressure to it, but the line is coming loose. I'm working it back and forth, hoping that my hard line gets unseized from the flare nut. Back and forth, with the beautiful Toyota Tech emblem stamped on the side. Yeah, this thing has no pressure whatsoever. We've got the made in one of these countries Rock Auto special for $7. So the master has a stud here, and then there's a bolt there that went through the firewall from the engine bay. All right, we get the pedal connected. I'm gonna tighten up the bolt. All right, new pedal is installed. Let's fill it with fluid. So today is July 1st, 2024. And I came out here for an hour this morning and I set the timing properly. I figured out how to actually use these cam gears. Over the last few months, I've worked on this car a little bit. I got it to run last week. And I ran it through all 5 gears, but the timing was off in that. And I got it to run by forcing the airflow meter open, which forces the fuel pump on, and I've had intermittent issues with that fuel pump. I have another one on order. And the airflow meter is powered by vacuum, so I'm gonna replace all the vacuum lines and try to find a big vacuum leak. I've tested the airflow meter's resistance and the voltage. I tried my open circuit relay. I've tested some other stuff with the multimeter. The electrical stuff seems to be working okay. But we got the timing set right, so that's a big deal. All right, today is August 6th, 2024. And I have not edited anything for this YouTube video in a very long time. So I'm sure it's messy, and what I've already looked back at the beginning of this video, I already don't like. And I have changed my goal for this car 3 times now. I no longer want a V8 swap, chassis swap. No longer want Donk Supra that I was talking about before. I just want to get it on the road. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this car. I had the car running if I jumped the airflow meter and stuffed a screwdriver in it. And today I decided to swap the fuel pump because I had ordered another one after the intermittent issues I had with the old one. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Car cranks up perfectly fine. At first it didn't really work. It wasn't sucking fuel and it was blowing a little bit of air. If I reversed the hoses, I swapped the wires around, switched the polarity on it. And the pump was labeled wrong. The Chinese fuel pump was labeled wrong. The negative was actually positive and the positive was negative. I swapped the line back to the fuel tank, and we're gonna start the car. I don't know if the tank even has gas. It should. Yes, come on, come on. Yes, it's idling. It's dropping 500 RPM. It's dying. Dude, look at it. She's fucking running. Oh man. Look at them gears, boy. Look at that crank, son. No cooling system, remember. No radiator, no hoses, no water pump, or no fan at least. Man, it makes me so happy to hear this car run. Got the open header on it. Played with the clutch pedal and pulled it back and depressed it a little bit, and then it kind of came back to life, so I think something was just stuck and it ran through the gears. So let's drop her down and see if she'll move. Yeah, sitting on an old John boat seat. All right, won't start. Sick. Daggum Toyota is running. It needs a lot still. It's been a couple weeks. This car needs a cooling system, and I want to get the alternator working. I don't know if it works or not, but I have belts. I bought some brake lines for the front. The brake pedal has 0 pressure. I need to replace the vacuum lines. I ordered some vacuum line off of Rock Auto that was supposed to be a 3/32 to an 1/8 inner diameter, and it was like a 3/32 outer diameter, so it was way too small. And I'm gonna try to put a radiator. I have radiator hoses. We're gonna make a little progress on it, but first see if the car will crank. It's idling. Yes sir. Oh man, I forgot. I need to do an oil change on this thing. I've made it back and I just ripped my intake hose in half. So might as well just rip that in half. Like a fucking idiot. Replacing it with a K&N filter I got for like $250 on Rock Auto. Oh fuck. No, I didn't put the drain plug in. No. Oh no. What a fucking idiot. I got the water pump pulley that goes over the pump. And usually the fan clutch will attach here with the fan and some bolts on these studs on the water pump. But we're not doing that. And I need to find some nuts that will hold, nuts and washers that will hold this pulley on, just so I can run the pump. And then hopefully we will find out if the alternator is any good. All right, we've got a radiator, a water pump, and an alternator now. Is running like shit, but the alternator might work. One step forwards, 2 steps backwards. There we go. This thing is hardly a 10 millimeter anymore, but I've got it threading in there. All right, new brake master is installed. I'm gonna give this thing a test drive here in a second. I ordered multiple hoses for my 84 Celica and for this car because it was cheaper for me to buy the Celica parts than the Supra parts, which they're pretty much the same thing. This is the hose for my Celica, and then this is the Supra hose. It's just a couple inches longer is the only difference. The fittings and the style are the same. This hose goes into the caliper and then feeds into another hose here, which would be the inner hose, which is this one. So it's pretty much the same thing. So I'm just gonna swap these hoses and hope that they're clogged and stopped up, and hopefully I have brakes. We're gonna avoid at all costs breaking this hard line up here. It's not what we wanna do, is make brake lines. All right, both sides of the brake hoses are done. And man, this one was tough. Boy, that thing is round. There's hardly a nut on the top of that flare nut. Now I need to get up under this intake here, and I need to put a hose clamp on that hose that's leaking. Probably won't record it. I'm just gonna put a hose clamp on it, fill the radiator up, and we'll go from there. At first, I thought it was these two hoses here. You can see I've removed my hose clamp on that left one that goes to some sort of valve or something. I have no idea. It's coming from behind the starter somewhere. It's coming from this hose, I think. I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at, but it looks like a metal hose, maybe rusted out. Man, this is in a terrible spot to work though. I just pushed on that hose. That metal pipe is definitely rotted out. This coolant hose is what we were just dealing with. This side here connects to, I guess, the thermostat housing, and then it runs under the intake to a metal hose or a pipe, which I'm not going to be able to get any video of. As cheap as I am, I want to reuse this, but I don't know. If I cut this, I think it's going to be too short. So I've got this hose here. The diameters don't really match up, but we're gonna try to use some hose clamps and use this. It takes a minute to get it started, but it idles whenever it does start. The coolant temp is rising ever so slightly. The alternator light is on. Gas gauge, I believe, works. And oil pressure goes up when I rev it as well. It's already acting a lot more responsive than it was earlier. Second gear. Second march. Since the last time I've recorded anything on this car, I have spent like 8 hours working on it. Because after the test drive, I went to crank it up and it sounded like this. Then a couple days later, I reset the timing, the base timing, the cam timing, the ignition timing. I pulled the distributor, I pulled the valve covers just to make sure I set the timing right. I checked for vacuum leaks, I replaced some more vacuum leaks, I checked that the fuel pump was working. I did so much stuff. The car would not run. So today, I went out to the store and I compression tested all the cylinders. 1 through 6 have between 145 and 160 PSI, which is great. Fuel pressure is my issue. It was like 15 pounds. If I just like wide open, sitting there, it was like 15 pounds. I couldn't get it to run. And I'm gonna get on the little creeper here and show you exactly what's going on. And originally this is where I had it connected to the tank, and I have a socket in the middle here to connect these two lines, and I think this was my problem all along and why I wasn't getting enough fuel and why it was low on power. Well, the timing was definitely out. It was like 40 or 50 degrees before top dead center ignition timing before, and now it goes upwards of 20. I believe the manual said it's supposed to be upwards of 40 if the car runs. And it does. It's leaking a little bit. Let's see where it's leaking. I'm gonna replace that hose clamp, get another hose to the fuel tank, and I'm just gonna button up this fuel system the way it should be, and then I'll pick back up. I'm gonna see if this alternator works. Let me see if the light's on. The alternator light is not on, but it's below 12 volts. So I'm gonna grab my multimeter. Looking at 11.7. At the back of the alternator, we're only reading about 11 or so. I'm gonna clean up my contacts to the alternator. But since it's only putting out 11 at the back, I think the alternator's bad, unfortunately. All right, it's time for the test drive. We have no alternator. We have brakes now. I bled the brakes. And let's see how far we go before it overheats and we leave it on the side of the road.
So slow. Oh my. Breaking line.
We're getting squirrely out here, boy. Alright, we cleaned the windows a little bit. She's not overheating yet. We're relocating the winnie wasps.
Looking at pouring gas out, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. The second gear.
Yeah.
First gear?
Alright, so the car has no power, but it does run and drive. It was only at about 20 something PSI of fuel. So I think I need to get another fuel pump and try to get the fuel pressure up. And that's where we're at. Fuel pump and alternator, and then we'll take it for another drive. The front end is also terrible on this thing. It shakes bad. It's been a little bit. Today is September 12th. I have installed a fuel pressure gauge. It's all right. It leaks a hair from the fuel filter. Fuel pressure gauge, new alternator, haven't tested it yet. 2 fuel pumps. I just hooked up another one from the tank to the one that I originally had on there. So I put one before the current inline pump, and I put on 2 new studs on this side, 10, 20, 30, and it's staying right about 35. It's so much louder than it was. I can't believe it could get any louder. Sketchy at high speeds. Those freaking brakes, man.
there. On it right here.
Dude, that thing got power, boy. Hey, I thought you was gonna lose it. You should have stayed on it and grabbed second gear.
Dude, I'm on a fucking tire.
God dang, boy. I like this car.
Yes, sir.
Dang, yeah. Dude, it sounds so good. Dude, I like this thing, boy.
This is definitely the passenger seat. Yeah, boy. My windows also don't work. That's one of the next things I need to fix. Literally nothing on this car works. That's why we gotta cut part 1 soon. The fuel pressure's breaking up.
Zoo. So today is January 7th, 2025. And I'm gonna cut this video here. I had a lot more that I wanted to put in the second part of the Supra. I wanted to weld the diff. I just wanted to have a lot more cool footage because I had a cool edit that I wanted to put as an intro to this video. But there's so many things I want to do. Like, I'm still having fuel system issues, and there's a lot that I just cut out. From this YouTube video, I had a bunch of performance issues that I cut out due to fuel, or my ignition resistor was wired backwards from my coil, and some other stuff that I cut out. But as the car sits, I pressure washed the interior like a month ago, and I haven't put a battery back in it since. I want to redo the whole fuel system. I have a full AN fuel line system from my tank. I'm going to weld on a bung to my tank. I'm going to run to my factory hardline. I'm going to delete the factory banjo bolt style and my original fuel rail lines, and I'm going to redo all that. I have a bunch of electrical stuff I want to do. There's a lot of custom stuff I want to do. There's a lot more work I want to do to it, but it's not going in this video. My plans for this car will probably change again, but as of right now, I'd kind of like to have like a half a Bozozoku car where I put a lot of flares on it, I lower it. I just want a lot of custom stuff. I have the interior stripped The interior that goes back in it is not going to be the factory interior. I'll keep a few things stock, like the dashboard maybe, and maybe the headliner for now. I might try to save it. I want custom door panels, center console, seats, a lot of switch panels, a lot of custom switches. I want to do a bunch of stupid stuff to this car, but I'm going to try to record most of it, and it'll all be in time. So hopefully this video is under an hour and 5 minutes. The car has made a lot of progress since I picked it up, and it will make more progress in the future. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully the people who watch this is just some kid that really likes these cars, or some dude that is at work and wants to buy one of these cars or something. I don't know. Who knows who watches these videos? But I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.